Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Tom Connell, filling in for Kieran Gilbert. The government's decision not to provide any more funding for schools ahead of the election has cemented that as a key issue. Labor is offering more money. The government says money is not the answer to improving schools and that Labor's Gonski education plan is not affordable. But when it comes to higher education, it appears both of the major parties are set for a budget hit. The Parliamentary Budget Office says a combination of Labor's uncapped higher education places and expanding help loans, including a massive expansion in vocational education, is contributing to a blowout in student debt that will never be paid back in some cases. And the PBO says as well the government's 2014 plan to uncap fees would also contribute to those unpayable loans. The total of that by 2026 of $11 billion in that year alone. It appears Labor needs to find some more money or adjust its policy. The government, well, its policy is still very much in development, but these figures will be food for thought about how much it was hoping to save from the other measure from that 2014 budget, reducing federal funding by 20%. For more on this and the rest of the day's news, I'm joined by Labor frontbencher Michael Danby. Thanks for being here today, Michael Danby. The Budget Office talking about these blowouts in student debt I just mentioned there. Do you think Labor needs to figure out how to pay for this? Otherwise you're going to have a bit of a funding black hole, as they call it.
Well, the Parliamentary Budget Office has identified a couple of areas. One is the very large increase in university fees that is projected under the Conservative or the Liberal party line, and of course if you put less into universities, the students have to pay more for these higher costing degrees. So that's the projection.
That's one part,
the other part is the VET program, and Sharon Bird's had a number of useful suggestions about capping the number of places in that area that we ought to look at.
So it's about reining it in rather than
reining it in the VET area, and also seriously examining the Liberals' proposal to increase the cost of university fees, because if students have got to pay them back and they cost $100,000, it's going to take a lot of effort from them, and it's going to cost people and the country overall a lot more.
I guess we'll see where that all lands. I want to get on as well. You were calling on the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, to do with this case. Two Australian businessmen apparently caught up in mining activities in North Korea, which could actually breach UN sanctions against that country. You said the AFP hasn't been called in to investigate, and it should be. I want to ask you, because my understanding is these sorts of cases are usually referred, but at the same time that referral would not be made public. How do you know this case hasn't been referred?
Well, there have been no actions taken against these two individuals since the material first surfaced 2 years ago, and now we've got two UN officials or ex-UN officials saying that Australia is trading with entities in North Korea that are sanctioned and helping them with mining activities that will assist North Korea's arms industry.
Right.
North Korea is an extremely alarming regime.
No one would debate that.
Yeah.
But you say no action's been taken. How do you know there's been no investigation launched or referral made?
I don't know that there's been no action taken by the AFP, but the Foreign Minister has not announced any action.
Not announced, but maybe it wasn't made public. Have you sought a briefing from either the Foreign Minister's office or Tanya Plibersek's office?
Tanya Plibersek's office has sought a briefing from the Foreign Minister's office about this, and we know nothing about any action by the Foreign Minister to stop Australians sanction busting with North Korea. We should be leading on the front foot with this. It should be something that's in the government rhetoric. I mean, we're saying nothing about sanctions with Iran. Now it seems we're going soft on sanctions with North Korea. All I'm saying is, Tom, is that Australia to take these things very seriously. We cannot be involved in helping the North Korean regime by organising mining in North Korea that will help them fund their arms industry.
So Tanya Plibersek's office has sought a briefing from Julie Bishop's. When was that made, that request?
I understand in the last few days.
So you don't actually know yet whether there could be this AFP investigation? As I said, my understanding is it's a very sensitive issue. If there were right now a referral already made, an investigation, they wouldn't actually tell us, and that would be pretty standard.
Well, I don't understand why that would be. I think that in these kinds of issues of breaking of UN sanctions, you've got to have some public profile, and I think that the Foreign Minister should be saying something about people you can say something about these people or individuals doing this kind of thing without necessarily interfering with a federal police investigation. But we should be leading on the front foot with rhetoric, saying that this is just like Malcolm Turnbull said stuff about the banks. The Foreign Minister should be saying something about individuals or firms trying to deal with North Korea.
Even while though you're just having an investigation, you don't want to tip people off sometimes, do you? You don't knock on someone's door and say,
you wouldn't have to be rocket scientists. I'm sorry to use that word as regards North Korea, but to work out that over the last 2 years people were looking into them. I mean, this has been in the media for the last 2 years that some Australian individuals are alleged.
There is new evidence, so we don't know whether this new evidence has already triggered a referral, whether there might have been an ongoing investigation. I mean, you don't know, do you, whether there has been that investigation?
I don't know whether there's an investigation being taken,
right.
But I think the Australian government should be on the front foot calling for both the Department of Foreign Affairs and the AFP to be looking into this, because it's a very serious violation. Will be helping that regime, and it's a regime that is, after all, threatening to use atomic bombs against the United States.
Just finally, the minimum wage when it comes to truck drivers, a lot of them are saying, well, great in theory, but if they have to charge these big companies, Coles and Woolworths, this new minimum wage, they will go out of business. They don't have the economy of scale of the big trucking companies. What are your thoughts on this? These are what the owner drivers are saying this.
Yeah, look, there are a lot of owner drivers who are members of the Transport Workers Union too. It's a very difficult issue, Tom. I mean, there have been investigations over the last few years about balancing low wages, long hours, safety on the roads. We don't want these big trucking accidents that we've seen in the past, and if people are playing on a level playing field where...
But it's not level if you've got an owner-driver, one person with a truck versus a huge company with economy of scale.
Well, if they're both being charged the same rates, the same safe rates, then I think that's only fair. That we have to balance public safety and the safety of drivers against rates that may be charged to farmers. You can't just look at the economic costs as far as it affects the rural industries. You've got to look at the safety of people on the roads and indeed of those truck drivers. How
do you explain then the swathe of owner drivers who are saying, whatever the best intentions are, this decision will put them out of business?
Well, I think that would be very regrettable, because obviously, we want people to be in employment, but there's minimum standards that people have got to abide by of safety on the roads. You can't say you abolish the minimum wage in other areas because it's going to, make some people more competitive and others not. There's this balance that's got to be drawn up.
All right, Michael Downby, thanks for your time today on Sky News.
Thanks.